Is the Salt Lake City housing market going to crash? Everybody wants to know, are we going to have another 2008? Everybody's very, very concerned that we have another 2008 on our hands again. And I think there are some similar aspects to now that make people worry about that. The first thing being affordability. Affordability is similar to 2005, 6, 7, 8, where it was very, very unaffordable to get into a home. Prices had really risen over the years. And the other thing that I think a lot of people feel, but they don't necessarily pinpoint it with their mind, is that the number of transactions are way, way down. In fact, we have about as many transactions now in 2008, now as we had in 2008. So I just wanted to take a little bit of a look at some of the data to really get a good sense of where we're going, what's been happening. Have rates changed the market? Definitely, they really absolutely have. I would argue that higher interest rates have made real estate even more hyper-local than it was before. Now it really depends on exactly where you're talking about if you want to talk about what interest rates have done to the market.
I'm awfully tired of hearing realtors say, just buy real estate, home values only go up, you can just refinance later, don't get trapped renting. I'm so tired of hearing that. The name of the article is "The 30-Year Mortgage is Saving the U.S. Economy," or is it? And right out the gates, they come with the question, why is the U.S. housing market not crashing?
The article, and this gentleman just admitted that the 30-year fix is one of the reasons why the housing market in the U.S. has done so well. Don't we want it to do well, ladies and gentlemen? Without the fear that their mortgage rate's going to go up and cause them to foreclose, than I would to be in a situation where I don't know what my mortgage rate's going to be in the next couple of years. I may not be able to afford it, and I may have to move, and I can't sell my house because it's not worth what I paid. That's the situation these other countries are in that he's talking about. This, ladies and gentlemen, is insanity.
Data is in, and the question is why has the housing market not crashed yet? Or really the better question is why has the housing market skipped negative equity growth? Now,
so the thing is that the real estate market has crashed. We're literally at 2008 levels when it comes to the number of transactions in the U.S. We're on track to hit 4.3 million transactions this year. In 2008, we did 4.12 million transactions. So we're literally at 2008 levels. We're not too far away from 2008 levels when it comes to number of transactions. In my mind, that's the crash. This is 2008. This is the crash, ladies and gentlemen. What everybody wants to signify or talk about when they talk about crash is they want it to be about home prices. They want home prices to come down. That's what signifies a crash to some people. But there's more to it. There's inventory. We're in an inventory crash. We're in a transaction crash, and prices haven't suffered. Why haven't prices suffered? That's the question for me. And the question is answered very simply. After 2008, when all that happened, and we had the only time in history where prices really had a significant reduction, we really had that serious correction in the real estate industry, it was because of the way that loans were allowed to be done with no documentation of income. And after 2008, the government came out and put all these regulations in place to make sure that we were protected the next time we had an incredible downturn of the market. And that's what we're experiencing right now. I did a poll, and 40 to 50% of agents are either doing worse than last year or they're out of the business. That is significant right there. So we are in the crash. There's not going to be another crash. There's not going to be anything else to this. And the fact that we put so much regulation on mortgages has put us in a position where, thank you, government. I never thought I would say that. Thank you, government, for coming through and protecting our equity as homeowners in America, where we didn't see another 2008 again.
That's what Ricky Carruth has to say about the crashing market. And I think he might be onto something. If you look at the data, it just does not support the idea that there's going to be another market crash. The reason I say that is that even though interest rates have gone up substantially, we did have some price dips. But we're going to come over here to Redfin and look at what they are talking about when it comes to the housing market in Salt Lake City. They have really good data. They take it from the MLS. And what it shows right here is that the median price of a home in Salt Lake City was $551K last month. And this is in July, I believe, in July, yes. Up 7.4% since last year. So yes, we had some dips, but prices have come right back up because there's just so much demand. It's very, very hard to get prices down. There are 3 separate markets that we should all be talking about when it comes to real estate. The first one is the entry-level market. There are so many people trying to get into their first home. It's almost impossible to have an effect on those prices because people are going to do whatever they can to get into that first home. The place where interest rates have a big effect is on that second tier. And I would just estimate that that's between $750,000 and about $1.5 million. That might be climbing up a little bit. It might be, maybe it's $700,000 to $1.75 million, but it's somewhere in that zone where interest rates have a big impact on buyers. Those buyers are particularly sensitive to interest rates, especially if they're sitting on a 3, 4, 5% interest rate right now. They're not particularly looking to trade straight across because they're going to have a higher interest rate and the payment will be the same for the same size house and everything else. The third band, obviously, is going to be the people who have lots of money and they can do whatever they want because they just have lots of money. The interest rates don't matter to them nearly so much. So looking at what Redfin is going to tell us here, they are saying that homes in Salt Lake City sell after 18 days on the market compared to 20 days last year. 177 homes sold in July, and that's up from 172 last year. But really, if we're looking at some of the most important information, it's that the median sale price has risen 7.4% year over year, right? We're down 2 days. Median days on market, which means that the demand is just there. Some of the other tools that Redfin has here, they're saying they have a demand sort of calculator here. How hot is the Salt Lake City housing market? They put it at a 76 out of 100, which they're saying that many homes get multiple offers, some with waived contingencies. The average home sells for around the list price and go pending after 18 days. Hot homes can sell for about 2% above the list price and go pending in around 6 days. Let's take a look. Sale to list price, 99.9%, which is pretty close to the list price. That's pretty healthy. And we have 36.7% homes sold above the list price and 34.9% with price drops. And I am willing to bet you that the great majority of the homes with price drops were homes between $750,000 and $1.5 million because they found that those interest rates just really clobbered their market pool. You may have seen my other video about demographic shifts in Salt Lake City or Utah. If not, go take a look at it. But let's do a little Redfin version of it. Basically, people are moving to Salt Lake City from Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Francisco, Boston, Chicago, San Diego, New York, Denver, Hartford, and Austin, Texas. And the thing that you'll probably notice about the great majority of those places is that the cost of living there is much, much higher. That is also having an effect on prices because if spending an extra $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 is still a substantial deal from where you come, you're probably going to do that. And that's something that I noticed happening throughout the pandemic. So people who are leaving are a little bit less important to us, but here they are. They're going to St. George, Houston, Logan, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Idaho Falls, Tampa, Hilo, Orlando, and Spokane. I went through Logan to go to Bear Lake not too long ago, and I kind of think it might be one of the next hot spots in Utah. It's beautiful, very charming, right up against Logan Canyon, which is gorgeous. Now coming over here to Deseret News, where Utah's housing prices stand amid market correction. This came out August 1st, 2023. Utah home prices down from last year, but tracking upward. And that has been my experience in the market, that Utah's housing prices are down a little bit, but they've been moving upward slowly but surely. And they might have even gone positive in the last month. So the first point they make, I think, is the point that a lot of us have been making. Prices, however, even though they're down year over year, are still stubbornly high, likely due to squeezed inventory. Many homeowners are reluctant to sell, wary of losing their existing mortgage interest rates and entering a market with rates that exceed 6 or 7% depending on the day. Meanwhile, Utah's years-long housing shortage continues to persist, aggravating Utah's affordability issues. I recently read an article in NAR, National Association of Realtors, or maybe it was even the Utah Association of Realtors, the Utah board. Their chief economist was saying that we have about a 32,000 unit shortage, and that's definitely going to keep demand, more demand than there is supply, and that means higher prices. So an interesting point that I find here is that Dave Anderton, who's a spokesman for Salt Lake Board of Realtors, says that since the Federal Reserve started raising rates, home sales have been decreasing by approximately 400 units per month. It's an interesting squeeze where people just don't want to lose that interest rate, and it makes a lot of sense. Another interesting point that I'm seeing in this Deseret News article, where Utah's housing prices stand amid market correction, is that it's saying that year-over-year prices declines span all across Wasatch Front counties, Salt Lake, Utah, Davis, Tooele, and Weber, but the biggest drops were seen in the multifamily sector of Davis County, where the median price dipped over 11.5% from June of last year, and of the single-family home sector of Tooele County, where the median price dropped from 11.8% year over year. My interpretation of that is that these are primarily places where people are investing. You have people buying multifamily homes in Davis County because they're kind of affordable, but in Tooele, you might still be able to afford a single family home. And because interest rates have gone up, people just are not buying investment properties like they used to. So I would really say that the investors have had their wings clipped a little bit, and not that they're not still out there, but they've contracted slightly. So overall, what I'm seeing is that rates went up, the market has corrected slightly, but really it's not a crash per se, it is more of a correction. We're seeing that prices are a little bit more in line with, if you look at mortgage payments, they're very similar to what they were like adjusted for inflation in the late 90s, early 2000s. And going forward, it's hard to imagine that there will be a ginormous crash in prices because we've seen, rates doubled almost overnight. If that didn't crash things, I'm not sure what's going to. Aside from that, we have a tremendous number of first-time buyers entering the market. We have so little inventory that everyone's fighting for the same homes. Given those reasons, it's hard to imagine that there will be a price correction. If you're waiting for a price correction to buy a home, you might be waiting a long time. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, and you should use your best common sense. I'm not here to tell you that, it's going to be this way or that way. I think anyone who tells you they know exactly what's going to happen is full of it. No one knows exactly what's going to happen. Anything is possible, but the data I'm seeing is not indicating a market crash. The data I'm seeing is saying that there's going to be and has been a correction, and that will kind of level out with mortgage payments fairly close to where they were at the end of the 90s and early 2000s. If you've been sitting on the sidelines and you'd like to get moving, contact me, reach out. I love hearing from you. It's always so fun to meet the people who are watching my videos and help them get where they want to go. I really enjoy it, and I'm so grateful to have you watching and reaching out to me. Let's get you where you need to go.